I'm gonna need you to do better than that, guys. DreamHack Dallas! That's good, that's good. Are you excited? Yeah, well, some of you aren't, and maybe that's because you don't know what's about to happen right here on the main stage at DreamHack Overwatch 2. Stadium Showdown. This is the first time, as far as I know, that we have ever seen this game mode on a stage on this continent. And you're gonna see it right here live on the main stage. You excited now? We had people playing in the PC free play competing. Other DreamHack attendees competing for their opportunity to come up on the main stage and play this brand new game mode in front of everyone here and everyone watching at home. And they're gonna be playing with some of their favorite content creators here as well. Should we meet them? Should we bring them out? They look kind of locked in. I don't know if they're willing to come and talk to me. Let's see. Can they hear us? Eskay? Jay3? They're setting things up. Can I get you over here? Are you busy? I can come over. I can come over there. Let me come over to you. Eskay on the stage. Hey, how are you doing, Eskay?
I'm great. Nervous?
You're nervous. Imagine how the attendees feel. This is your team. You're the team captain, right?
Yes, I will be strong.
You'll be very strong. And you're playing up against Team Rakattack, who's playing with Emongg as well. How do you feel about your competition?
Should be free.
It should be free. That is some deep cut right there. Eskay, what do you want to say to your team before you get into this?
You got this. They got this.
They got this? What do you think? Do they got this? Make some noise for Team Eskay, please. Go and take your seat. I know that you are trying to get set up right now. And we meet the other team captain as well. Playing with Emongg, it's Rakattack. Can I get you up here, please? Rak, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Feeling good.
Feeling good? Feeling strong?
Of course, always.
And now, up on the DreamHack main stage, ready to go head-to-head at the Stadium Showdown. Are you going to beat these guys?
It's always the plan to win. I mean, you don't plan to lose. So I'm ready to give what it takes.
You're ready to give what it takes? I mean, I asked Eskay, and they said it was free. And you seem a lot more humble than that. Is that good, or is the confidence necessary?
I think the confidence is necessary, but as long as they can't shoot me out of the sky, then I don't know. It's gonna be hard for them to deal with me.
What do you think? Are they gonna be able to deal with Team Rakattack? I think they are confused by the question. Is Team Rakattack gonna take this? That's a much bigger cheer. Anything you want to say to your team before you get into this?
I just hope we all have fun, but we're gonna take the win, so it doesn't matter.
There we go. Hey, make some noise, please, for Team Rakattack. Get yourself set up and ready. This is very important. Right here in Dallas. The first time we'll ever see this in America. Brand new game mode from Overwatch 2. Stadium, have you played it yet? It's really good, right? It's amazing. You can play it over in the PC free play as well. But right now, I want to introduce the dream team when it comes to talent in this game title. Our casters, make some noise for Rich Rad and Kenobi. Guys, are your mics on? Can you talk to me? Yes? Yeah?
Hoping so.
Oh,
No, wait, there we go.
Good.
Now you can hear us, right? There it is, yeah.
Guys,
Well-
are you excited for this?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're stoked. I
Yeah.
mean, realistically, Kenobi, we've been looking forward to this for quite some time when we found out about it, and being able to be here for these couple of days, it's been fantastic to talk with the content creators, those that are now fans alongside them competing in this stadium matchup, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is where I was born, actually. In
Oh,
Dallas,
really?
so
Okay.
I'm
Even
happy
I
to
didn't
be
know
here
that.
in my home state of Texas, coming back in. But I'm really excited to talk about Stadium with you and about this game because I think it's a game mode that deserves a lot of praise and how fun it is and how interesting a lot lot of the things can get in Stadium with the items, with the powers, just everything about Stadium feels so good to play, and I can't wait to see what our teams are going to be able to pull out.
Yeah, and over the course of the show match, we'll really dive into a lot of the details, both from like the more basic format of just understanding the game mode in combination with what some of the builds are that we are going to get from the players. And I know that the content creators have been so heavily driven into just playing a wide variety of different heroes from all different levels, whether it's tank, support, DPS, but we have some of ours that are playing alongside them that are really just starting to immerse themselves into Stadium as a whole. So I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of that like new talent from these individuals who have been participating here in that free-to-play zone, and then now alongside content creators who have been grinding this game.
Yeah, like a seasoned, player who's been playing Stadium. I think I've seen like Emongg make on a lot of the streams, like the Diva builds. I think the Melee one you and I were talking about, which is one of my favorites. But I can't wait to see kind of what a lot of these players come up with, because if you don't really have an understanding of what Stadium is, the game does do a pretty good job of like giving you some example builds to deal with. You can have kind of these like very small items and just go down the list and trying to figure out what kind of build you want to play. But you can also just be super creative. You can pick, if you want to be a Reaper that does just melee damage from behind, a Genji that does melee damage from behind, you want to fly as Reinhardt, you want to be a helicopter as Orisa, you can do all of that in Stadium, and it's perfect.
As an Orisa main, I love the fact that I get my barrier back. That is one of the greatest.
And Supercharger.
And Supercharger. So like those are like me going back to the original days. But again, there's such a wide variety. And you touched on it a little bit when it comes to the smaller abilities that kind of grow and elevate over the course of the actual match itself, starting from that common to rare to epic, and how it can really start to evolve the way that these heroes are playing and the players are specifically going for those major powers as they hit them in those 1, 3, 5, and 7 maps.
Yeah, I think that the powers are going to be the most interesting, because they kind of give you like a North Star of what you're going to be doing when it comes to that build. There are I'd say about 3 or 2 that are just focused on like very specific parts of the kit. You have Reinhardts who get like bigger fire strikes, bigger shield. That's the other one that I'm seeing a lot of. You have self-destruct builds sometimes. You have a lot of these very specific builds that come from your powers, but you can also mix and match, and that's one of the things I like as well, is that the fact that there isn't, just you're not set in your ways. You can basically, whenever you want to, decide to change up your build, you can sell those items if it's not working out for you.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, too, is when it comes to like some of those builds that you were mentioning, there's even some discussion when it comes to some of the content creators that there could be some, 76 DPS / healing builds that we might see utilizing that biotic field. So again, even almost going outside of the realm of just the DPS sphere and taking that customization and just creativity to, the extent that allows them to play not only so differently, but contribute to the team as a whole.
Yeah, I think one of the builds that I've seen, or I was playing a Stadium game, a couple of days ago, and one of the things that I saw was this build where the Soldier 76 biotic field was just huge, and you would just run around with it, and it deals damage. There's a power that makes it deal damage, and then it's called back off, and you would just run around, and then you would just sit next to people, and they would just instantly die. Like, it was fantastic. I love the creativity that a lot of these builds can get.
Well, and even just kind of talking again, we're really focusing on the 76 aspect because, again, such an original character that we have. There's even that dynamic of where you can get like a helix boost where you're jumping over massive portions of terrain, and just the accessibility to so much just speed and mobility around the map itself really can also change the outcomes here, where you're thinking, oh yeah, like Pharah from like traditionally it's got elevation, but in this case we don't really have that hero just yet. But you can now kind of spin your build a little bit, because with those 4 powers, the primary ones, you have your static build that's pretty confident in building off of one ability, but then you can take maybe the floater, because again, when it comes to the early aspect of powers, you might take one that's more beneficial to the earlier rounds versus ones that are in that long run picture like you mentioned.
I think one of the other things that I like about Stadium in particular is that the fact that when I was talking about how you could like sell items, you're not really punished for changing your build in the middle, right? The powers, yes, they stay all the time, but for the items that you're buying during the rounds with your Stadium cash, if you feel like you want to go a different way with your build at any point, just sell those items, and then you can change it completely, and that kind of creates this little chess match between a lot of these teams. Do I need to buy a little bit more survivability? Do I need to buy a little bit more ability power? How do I want to kind of maneuver around my build? And I think that's something that I'm really interested to see, especially because we have that mix, like you're talking about, of very seasoned players who play Stadium and some newcomers. So I wonder if there's going to be some like mid-set coaching going on from some, from Eskay, from Jay3, from Emongg, and from Rakattack.
Yeah.
If that's something we're going to.
And again, just kind of making sure. I guarantee you they had a little bit of time before this, because it was interesting too in how we were able to have the fans selected by the content creators teams as well, since leading up to this point, these individuals were playing yesterday all throughout the day. We had an accumulation of victors over the course of the Stadium free-to-play area, which then came together to the final few that were selected here, and almost kind of like that traditional dodgeball pick'ems kind of gameplay, where it's like they each decided who they wanted to bring onto the team. They found out the roles that they played. Surprisingly, a lot of support players, mind you. A ton of support players.
How many support players are in the audience right now?
I know. Is there a lot of support players? Yeah, raise your hand. Support players?
Raise your hand, make some noise.
You're all amazing. You keep our lives great.
Yeah.
You keep our lives going.
Okay, there's not a lot of support players in the audience, though.
I know. Unfortunately, that's because we pulled them all up here.
We pulled them all up
here.
But it is so interesting that there are, like, you know, because when I usually play, I'm like very much a support player. But I love playing like tank, and I love playing DPS in Stadium in particular because of the fact that I can go, you know, change up my build and play some different things.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to, like, for DPS, I know I mentioned that I was an Orisa main, or that's all I play. I know there's probably somebody out here in the audience that appreciates the fact that I play only Orisa. But I will do Reaper, and I am very excited to hopefully maybe see that, where you've got that
I know what you're thinking already.
Yeah,
I know
death step in the back, where you're just going to make sure that you get that instant Death Blossom just for those few seconds, constantly all the time in the back line, hoping to get the elimination. So there's a number of different builds that I've really enjoyed outside of the tank realm, which this mode has really allowed me to feel that I can take creativity in that DPS or support role a lot more lucratively.
You know what the funny thing is for me? It's I like playing DPS because a lot of the builds I don't have to aim. Right, like I play Ash Dynamite build.
That's very true.
I play Ash Dynamite build, and then there's an item that gives me 40% explosion radius, and I'm just like, the Dynamite's going to do the damage, not me, or Bob is going to do the damage and not me. So if you don't know how to, you know, if you're not a great aimer, it still does benefit you. There are builds that are like for Cassidy and stuff like that, but if you're not the best at aiming, there are some builds that can help you out, especially in third person. You know, it feels a little bit different. And
I mean, when we talk about not having to aim, Juno is like the first one that rises to the top of discussion.
I guarantee, Rich, we will see Juno today.
100%.
It is the most fun. I'm probably like, because I remember the queues for like supporter so long, and it's like everyone wants to play the Juno build.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to play the Juno build, I think, is what's happening there.
Well, it's because it does just have this, again, we've talked so heavily about it, the uniqueness when it comes to those items and abilities that really kind of enhance that usage of them. And overall, I think when we go into this, because we've had the chance to be able to see it at least once time when they were on location for that, where they did have professional players, and now we get a little bit of the content creator, previous and or current professional players in that degree with, you know, these that are here from just this weekend. And as I mentioned, some of them experiencing it for the first time, which is so interesting just to kind of see how their methodology is in picking those items and picking the powers and really synergizing with our content creators who do know this to such a great extent.
I think the other thing that I'm really excited about is how much Stadium's going to grow in the future.
Yes.
You know, because of the fact that we do have some new maps coming in very soon. We just had Freya come in. I believe
on Tuesday.
It's probably going to be played today, based on what we had some insider trading before a little bit. We got the scoop for all of y'all. We pulled an Adam Schefter, figured out what these teams were going to be playing. But one of the things that I'm very interested in is about like what they're going to keep adding, because I think it's like Junkrat's coming, Sigma's coming,
Sigma's coming
Zenyatta,
next. Junkrat's gonna be fun.
obviously everyone in chat, Winton, it's going to just pop out. I can already see it. I don't even need.
Winton,
I hear someone.
Winton bubble, Winton's, the whole.
I hear someone with the Winton.
Someone's going to do it.
I heard it. Shout out whoever that was.
All right. Keeping true to the true Winston player. But and again, as we're about to be going into that Stadium match here, and we're really allowing that, you know, technical, you know, complication to get resolved. For
There's a lot on the line. They're going to get medals. They're going to get actual medals.
That's where I was going with it, because they are not walking away with nothing and just the title of saying, yeah, we won this. They actually get a tangible winning medal that they get to take home, both the content creators and the fans that are playing alongside them.
Yeah, that's going to be, I mean, I wish we could get one.
I'm
probably not as good as Stadium as like a lot of.
I'm not that good either.
I'm not that good either. it's just not for me. That's why I cast and I don't play.
Yeah, we can talk about it endlessly, forever. But when it comes to at least the dynamics of being to their caliber of those who are playing, that's a little bit too far of a reach.
Like if I went into like a matchup as like a support against Rak, like I'd lose.
Oh, absolutely. I would be the bot in their game.
Yeah,
I would genuinely be the bot in their game. No pun intended as an Orisa, but you know that kind of works.
That was pretty good.
I thought I was clever with that.
See, it took you like 5 minutes to get to one like
what do you
punch.
mean 5 minutes? Maybe.
You know, we got there eventually.
We did. I mean, I'm trying to be a little light on you for now, because once we get into game, I'll probably start throwing some shenanigans
a lot
at
of them
you.
in there. But I think that, you know, kind of talking about Stadium a little bit more, is that what I'm interested to see is kind of how the builds are going to evolve, because one of the things that is so interesting, like I talked about, is how you can sell them, but buying items and, like, you know, when do you decide to go for that epic item that's, like, worth, like, 10,000, 30,000? Stadium Cash, like things like that is really going to be interesting to see where the rounds kind of go with the money-making aspect of it.
Well, and to build off of that even, because when you do start initially with that 3,500 currency, you can get those nice 3 commons that you can really focus into, or potentially when now you're going into that second one. I myself, even on some occasions, depending upon the power that I select and really starting to go into it, you can go into that rare quality. And if you were able to get enough eliminations and potentially even a wild bounty that you get in the beginning portion of that map, you can even sell to the point of where you can get to that epic item, which can really contribute to that next map.
Yeah, and it's like, what are those items that are going to be those ones where it's like, oh, you sell your green items, like you just go for like one of those very high value items that are epics. And I think the other thing that's really cool about the items in particular is that all the heroes have specific items for themselves. They have about 2 or 3 from each category. You have weapon items for heroes, you have ability power items for heroes, and you also have survival items for heroes. So there's a lot of, again, the kind of, you can basically take anything you want with your build and build it how you would like to. And again, if you are not happy with it, just sell your stuff next round. It's totally fine. There's no penalty for that.
And again, as you're going into it, that's what's also been, I think, really nice from a tanking perspective, because I am such a tank main, where when I'm playing Orisa, if I want to go full throttle and just really try and be the aggressor on some cases, where if I feel I can take that advantage, I then can start doing that early in that first and second map, and then start to maybe changing the trajectory once I get that second power unlocked, and then can start deviating away from the build or picking and choosing really what works most, not only for me, but as you mentioned, just having those additional items that can contribute to the overarching decisions I'm going to make throughout the match itself.
Yeah, and that's the other cool thing about it is that there are some builds that are like scaling builds.
Yes.
We heard it from Jay3, or Jay3's like, I'm scaling in this build. I'm not going to spoil it yet for everyone who hasn't seen it, but Juno, for instance, scales super
100%.
hard with the build. So there are also certain builds where it's like, you know, you get strong very early. There's some Genji builds that are like that, some Ashe builds that are like that, and then you just kind of, you still are going to get strong, but maybe not at necessarily the rate as like some very high scaling builds that we see where it's like AP or gun gets incredibly strong the later you get in. Like if we get to those 7th round where you're at your 7th power and you're just farming Stadium Cash, you're going to feel like a god.
Well, and even the more important part to that as well is when you get to that later portion, if you all of a sudden are in like a last-ditch effort moment where you're getting to that final map and you have to make a solid shift of where you can sell all of your items, and you can come back making an entirely different decision.
Catch
Again,
everyone
still
off
within the parameters of the powers
Catch everyone
that
off
you
guard.
have.
Switch from AP and just go full gun.
Just go full gun, or attack speed, or like because again, there's even some of those which I've found most interesting when it comes to some of the DPS players, where you're utilizing the chamber of ammunition as a benefit to you, increasing critical strike damage, or just being able to do a lot more with it, or having like the stack of damage throughput through how much ammunition or firing you're doing. So that in and of itself is also just a unique little wrinkle to the way that a DPS plays as well.
I think talking about kind of like how DPS play, it's interesting that you can kind of have some DPS that act as like brawlers a little bit.
Yeah.
You can buy survival items. Like you can buy, Chain Vest, which is 25 armor. You can buy, there's also an epic one like that where you can get a lot of armor in your back pocket, and then you can play like as a Genji, for instance, or as a Reaper. You can be incredibly tanky, but still with the powers that you have, with the other items that you have, you can still get some damage done and be quite a nuisance. Like I remember seeing a Reaper, I think, had like 400 health and was just ruining my lobby, still doing a lot of damage, but unfortunately for me, on the losing side, I was not able to deal with such a tanky Reaper.
Well, and a combination of tankiness, but we also look at some heroes like Genji, where when you have a little bit more emphasis on a projectile type of aspect, because of course the shurikens are projectile when you use it, but now you're going to start blending that in with using potentially the deflect and also a dragon's breath, where now you're going to be activating your dragon blade to get now that long range slash damage that can come out. Again, another additive when it comes to the projectile, inclusive of the extra shurikens that you can throw. So there's just so much that you can actually pump into the enemy from a range as a Genji. It's almost in somewhat thinking counterintuitive as you have a sword, but it's also another way of playing.
The funny thing about the Genji too is that there's a, if you played ranked and you played Genji at all in Overwatch, you know that Zarya is your biggest counter. Guess what? There's an item that lets you deflect beam. Just put it back in the Zarya. It's not going to hurt you anymore. And that's something, again, there's a lot of those where it's like Orisa has one, I believe, as well. So there's a lot of those items that are just built for kind of like those moments in Overwatch where you're just like, I have no counterplay, and now you do.
And that's something like you had touched on as well when it comes to the content creators who have like that historical type of professional level play mindset or just consistency in the upper rankings compared to others, that they can utilize that knowledge to be able to contribute to their decision making and have those types of counterplays, which I'm hoping we really get to see as these maps continue to progress for that first to 4.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we have to kind of talk about is that like there is that mercy rule potential, and there's also a comeback mechanic.
Yeah.
Because you do get, if you are a little bit low on stadium cash compared to the other person, you are going to be able to get some boost. You know, you get a little bit extra stadium cash. Bounties are also something once we get into we're going to have to talk about, which is a big deal and a big way to get back into the game to be able to make sure that not everything is a stomp. Yes, there are potentials for stomp. You know, if you're going down, you're going down 2-0 going into the third map and you're down 10K gold, it's not going to feel the best, but there's always a way back, which I feel is great for making it get to those. Because like the goal, I feel like should be to get to that 7, and just everyone's godlike, and then it's just like an absolute fiesta, but in the best way.
I have had so many map 7s over the course of my time playing Stadium, and it is an absolute thrill. And kind of like you said, where you get to that third map, though, you get that second power, and you're starting to feel a lot stronger, especially if you do a piggyback off of the same ability, focusing on one, really strategically taking the advantage of it in your respective role, and then can really just allow yourself to kind of have that moment of like calm breathing and say, all right, I don't have to worry. We're not having a mercy, but you know what we do have is going into game, Kenobi. Woo! That's what everybody's excited about. You've all been waiting. Are you happy about it? Let's hear it from the crowd right now. We're going to get this stadium underway. Yes. Want it loud enough that they can hear it in the stream all the way at home. That's what we need.
All the way at home, away from, it's probably a long way for some of those people.
Hey,
it was like a 4-hour flight for me.
Hey, it was like 2.5 for me. It was a lot longer for you.
It was a lot.
Mine was short.
Why was yours so short?
It's because I'm closer. It's because I'm cooler.
Geography was not my strong suit. But we're going to be starting on Temple of Anubis. This is another thing that I like, Rich, is that there are some of these maps that are the same. They're very familiar to us, and they're also all the game modes as well, which is really nice that you have kind of like, you know, you have your you have your push, you have your clash, things like that. Like, it's really nice to see that those game modes are still kind of like in there, so there is that familiarity still built in.
Absolutely. As we're going to be heading, like you said, onto this one, we are just about to enter into it. That timer for assembling of heroes. Again, you get that initial amount of time to not only select the hero, but also to really evaluate those powers and those items. And it can also become much quicker if you know exactly the direction you want to go.
And you're locked in. You can't switch. No swapping anymore. All the people who are complaining about, oh, counter swapping, you're locked in forever when you pick after this 3 seconds goes down. So we'll see what these teams are going to be opting in for as we can already start.
Alrighty.
Ooh, Freya, the new hero coming in, has been taking over OWCS, now it's going to take over Stadium, Rich.
And we've got now this minute and 30 seconds for the Armory before the doors open, and this is where all of those decisions are made. You talked about Freya, again, only being released just Tuesday for us to talk about as we look to see what the selection is. And one we can see already out the gate from Emongg is going to look to be that Chop Chop selection. Now, that's one of the ones I'm really looking forward to, because again, there is the decision of whether or not you want to go more so on the melee carnage field of it, or you want to go more so in the shout aspect that really amplifies that.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what Chop Chop's going to be doing, it is going to be, you know, you get an additional charge of that carnage, so you get, but it does have a little bit of downside where there's some cooldown reduction on it, so that is something that we have to look out for. Also, Tuzu, really great name, one of my favorite names, where you get 2 Suzu charges, so that's going to be on the Kiriko, and then Jay3, it's the build. It's the build of legends, Rich. It's the biotic field build coming in from Jay3.
Well, and that was what we talked a little bit about just ever so briefly at the start of it, where you're able to take a DPS hero and utilize one ability strictly in their kit to help more for sustainability for yourself, but actually start to spread that around for those on your team to help further stabilize them through healing, and also in some cases as we get later on in those powers for that over-healing capability as well.
And you can see kind of with these green items that we saw at the very start, those are like your very basic ones. You know, they're giving like 5% ability power, 5% weapon damage, lifesteal, things like that. That's really where you're going to be starting things off.
And we're going to have the doors open. This is going to be the first map of our Stadium Showdown. Let's hear it in the crowd right now. DreamHack Dallas 2025. Let them hear it all the way through the headsets as they come to this initial duel.
Jay3's already running. You can see that biotic field is just on the Soldier 76 at all times, so you're going to have to be looking out for that as Emong's going to go in, already uses one of those Carnage charges.
And you can see Rak in the back, making sure to take that high ground angle, utilizing that architecture to prevent some of the fires, gets the shot through the side. You already have an early elimination, though, onto Ravager, and just making sure that that Cassidy is no longer on this point. You can see a little bit of a flanking opportunity potentially to work through this doorway, and you see Team Rakattack have to just completely bail out of this.
Yeah, without Emongg, there's no way they're going to be able to stabilize here, and now they're going to try and push their pace a little little bit. Rakattack seeing what they can find on this Freya, but doesn't find much. And Jay3 taking over the lobby right now. This should be a very easy cap, and now we're going to be going over to point C. And we have to remember, Rich, in this mode, it's just 2 wins, and you've got it.
So it is much quicker when it comes to this in comparison to what is standard. So it is moving faster. Now going to look to see Rak continuing to play the inside, has the bolo available, might look to try and unleash that into the backside. Nice speed ring to come through to get that position forward. Has a ton of damage on the back, goes for the bolo, gets the pick. Can't quite eliminate them as there's great healing in the backside.
Yeah, really well played there. And here comes Jay3 with the tack visor. Already found the Kiriko out of this fight, so that's so much healing that's lost. And now is using that biotic field, just pushing forward aggressively. Still living, still being healed.
And that's what we talked about so heavily, but as you see Jay3 move around the back, it's actually going to be Team Rak looking to try and recover into this. A rampage across the center, getting Eskay that elimination onto the Cassidy, consistently bringing down the DPS as Team Rakattack actually comes back tenfold despite the early advantage that Eskay's team had.
Yeah, Eskay had a really good rampage there. She really turned that fight completely around, and now it's going to be, I think it's going to be Team Eskay who are going to be on the back end. It was really Team Rakattack who came in with a stall at the very end. Now we're going to be seeing if the Freya can get some value. Already 7K in the bank, Rich.
A lot generated so far as they move back towards this neutral middle position. Again, this is the final point that they have to obtain, so an early elimination could be catastrophic. Orbital right now coming across the center, looking to try and navigate around that pillar. Nice attempt. Death Blossom comes in, though, from the Reaper for 3. That support's down, and now have to move back in to try and take this. They are in a dominant position. Team Eskay with that off angle from the Reaper really just takes so much control of this point and gives them the position to take this first map.
Easy target, making it look easy right there, Rich, with that Death Blossom at the very end, and this should be a very early win for Team Eskay. Just some contests coming in just to try. Rakattack doing what they can. J3 is actually down. Oh no! Not there. The updraft, unfortunately, takes him to the skies and not on the point, and it's a round 1 win for Team Eskay.
Rakattack coming in, attempting to hold on for dear life to buy just enough time for their squad to get back in onto that point for contention, but just seconds too late, and utilizing that updraft, which unfortunately you'd think, hey, you know, being in the high ground, getting those shots, great. This case, not so much.
Unfortunately, not going to be working out for her. And now we're going to be starting to get into the nitty-gritty of the items as we're going into our next round here, into what we'll see with the armory. You can see just kind of how the cash is distributed here a little bit. You see J3 is getting a lot because of the fact that that healing is just constantly there, constantly taking poke, getting so much value. And now we're going to be seeing some of those hero items like I talked about, like we have that Freya one where you're going to be having those Windwalker boots available to you. And now we're seeing also some of the greens being sold to get some of those items that are going to be a little bit better for your gun damage and for things like that.
And the aspect too, if you can see that several greens are being sold and then purchased of the rares, but the interesting fact is because it still is so currency based, there are rebuys of some of the greens because you've got that extra cash. You don't want to go in without getting even the small amount of benefits, whether it's that extra attack speed or extra ability, or maybe just having that life steal as well, because you don't want to just waste that currency going into that next map, because every little bit does count.
You always want to have it. Oh, and J3's got the item that I was thinking about. That's the one, that purple one there is the one that makes the radius 30% larger. So J3's going to be healing probably not only himself, but a lot of his extra team, and you can see that cash is probably just going to keep going up and up and up.
Well, because the contribution aspect of it, absolutely, and that would also be a thing that I'm curious to see if that bounty is going to continue escalating, and we'll get to see that for the first time here within this second map. As already pushing onto the point. Instant deletion already from J3, finding the Kiriko out into the open. Eskay still looking to hold that front line and really just force back Team Rak.
Yeah, but that's so much damage or healing that's already lost for this team, and I think you're going to have to wait patiently. But actually, no, Emongg maybe used to find J3, so that's a lot of the damage from Team Eskay that's not there anymore.
Now still continuing to hold and position themselves in that doorway. Looks for the Jagged Blade, doesn't quite get the land, but a nice return by Eskay, but Eskay gets slaughtered by the Carnage up front, now bashing forward, really rushing and taking control of this space and eradicating Eskay off this point to go again.
Really good patience coming in from Team Rakattack there because they lost that fight so early. It felt like with J3 getting that very good Helix rocket, but wasn't able to clean up the fight after that. Really good patience winning a 4v5, and now they have all the positioning, and this is where it's going to be thriving for Freya. She loves sitting at these corridors, throwing in these shots and these very explosive quick drop shots.
And you can see Jay already getting quickly low on health from those shots from a distance down that narrow choke point, the hallway being a dangerous place to move into. Taking an off angle, though, has that biotic field now, again, attached and moving in to make sure that it is healing those close and within vision. Reposition comes out, able to fall back in time, gets topped up by the healing, and it's still 50% and climbing. Elimination comes in, Emongg gets the blade, pulls Eskay into the clutches, and is able to take down a second shortly after.
And one of the things that I'm really loving about this Cassidy pick is the hinder, right? We're seeing that the 11.2K, not necessarily the most in Stadium catch, but just doing so much because Jay3 can't use that sprint to get out. When the hinder's there, it's so much slow, and I really love the decision-making coming in from how Team Rakattack is playing, and with 81%, this is final fight for Team Eskay.
And you can see a little bit of just the methodology behind the Junker Queen with our POV position, that jagged blade into the Carnage. Rampage now comes across that middle position, getting to, chasing down the support just out of range, and actually able to get the elimination. Will be able to dominate on this position and get it, and take now the second, or take it a 1-to-1 map score. And the aspect of it too is you did start to see those bounties come in, but it was too late to really cash out on it.
One of the other things that we noticed and we see this kind of between screens is the MVP bonus. You get 1,000 extra cash if you get that MVP bonus. So Jay3's gotten 2 so far. That means that Jay3, who said before we got on stage, Rich, I'm scaling with a lot of Stadium cash right now. Let him cook. And now we're going to be getting to those third powers and things like 23.9K. Look at, I mean, on the other side, you see it's a lot more even from Team Rakattack, and they've got those bounties that you were talking about.
Yeah, first time we get to see it. Let's take a look, though, because, again, since this is map 3, this is where the second power is available. And you can see a ton of minor abilities being sold so that they can now start getting into those larger items. And, again, already talking about easy target with that Reaper, the one that got the triple when it came from the Death Blossom, that having the Death Step after a Shadow Step, using a short 1-second Death Blossom to get that damage. You're basically bobbing in and out of engagements, which I'm really curious to see if that's going to help try and exploit what we've been seeing from the DPS on the opposing side.
Ooh, and I love Emong's decision. Let's go win there with that power. I love that one. That's one of my favorite ones for the Junker Queen. When you are able to get an elimination, resets your commanding shout, so I love it. And on the other side, for Eskay, what we saw from her with her build is that there was going to be the build where, remember in April Fools when Junker Queen could dive?
Yes.
It's that one.
Yep, as we have it back up on screen. Yep,
I'm so excited to see that.
And again, it ties back to, like I said, where as you're playing in this, of course you can be in like first person, but having this over the shoulder, getting that wider vantage point and being able to look at the field a lot more effectively for these types of engagements, taking the advantage and also potentially closing gaps in certain areas. Even like what we would used to do back in the older time where you'd have Reinhardt's shield, you'd go into barrier to try and look around the corner. Everybody really gets that aspect.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is going to be those bounties that we talked about, because the bounty system is really what it does is that anyone who contributes to the elimination of someone who has that bounty, you get about as much money as you contributed to it in terms of just a percentage. So everyone's going to be able to benefit once that elimination comes down. So make sure to look out for the Junker Queen and the Freya going down in this fight.
Eskay attempting to try and get a jagged blade across the center, doesn't quite land. Elevated position, though, and you can see those pulse torpedoes coming out so rapidly in the back. Juno having such an impact with it, and a little bit of separation there. Easy target forces back Freya on Rack, so now you see this early elimination, and trades continue on this bot as it continues to now push the barricade in favor of Team Rack.
Oh, and you're seeing these Juno build with the missiles doing so much healing and also damage at the same time. The amount of just pressure that we're seeing from these Juno's builds is really, really impactful. It's already an advantage right now for Team Rakattack on push, and another bounty has shown up.
That would be really important. Oh my gosh, a Jagged Blade comes out instantly onto that front position. Now you can see Eskay pushing around the corner, gets a Carnage. Nice shout though from Team Rack. Again, making sure there's enough fortification for the squad to withstand the incoming damage. Utilizing that sign pillar near Bob, goes in for the Carnage up close, generating ever so closely to that ultimate. But a Death Blossom in the back, that's that Death Step. Again, doesn't have the ultimate of the Death Blossom just yet, but utilizes those few seconds to get the early advantage onto the support. And now Team Eskay is starting to take advantage here, but there's a huge double kill coming out from the Juno to make sure that they can actually turn this back and compete against it with Rack on the backside.
Oh, the Pulsar torpedoes are doing so much, Rich, especially with the ultimate that you have, the Orbital Ray just giving that damage boost as well. And a fight like it looked like it was going great for Team Eskay ends up failing, and that's checkpoint for Team Rakattack. Still a minute and a half, but with how well Team Rakattack are playing right now, they might try and just complete this map. The Death Blossom doesn't manage to find what it wants.
And one of the things to really take note of is as you're in the Death Blossom, you really are vulnerable. So this focus fire from Emongg is so massive. With a rampage down the stairs into the back room. Is there enough to follow up after it to completely capitalize on it? 55 meters approaching the tail end of this. Rakattack and their squad are in such dominant form right now. Big Bolo in the back. Rakattack with the triple and just continues to clean up. A hope and a prayer with the Death Blossom. Gets 2 on both supports, but is the spawn going to be fast enough? Now with only a few meters to go, the High Noon blocking him back. It has to be somebody touching the point fast enough with just 3 meters to go.
They're trying their best right now, but you see Rak is just unabated up on the stair, up on its high ground right now, just pushing as best as he can. The Death Blossom manages to get something done, but it's not enough. Rakattack wins the duel.
You see Jay3 just sprinting in circles, has the healing. Everyone just take the healing from me, as it's just giving so much agency here for Team Eskay to stay on this point. 15 seconds to go. They've managed to stabilize for the moment, but Team Rakattack are just around the outer wall and still gonna pick anyways.
Oh, Emongg is so strong right now. Another Rampage available, manages to hit one. Is there a Suzu available to keep Eskay alive?
There was the attempt to use one earlier. The second one, Bolo on the front. That's gonna be Eskay going down. Again, Rak just consistently showing the power that this recent hero addition from Freya is. This Reap is back onto it. Maybe gonna try and hold this team. Almost 400 HP. Just continuously being built up from that bionic field with the overhealing. Emongg slashing him down. Ravager in the back giving some extra coupled assistance, finally forcing them away and getting this next map, making it a 2-1 score.
2-1 here. Team Rakattack looking very clean right now. The Freya starting to get ramped up, and this is one of the things that this hero does so well. You can get so much stadium cash, and it's such an effective thing too, because once you get those items that really make your bullet shots incredibly stronger, it's so hard to deal with.
And now as we're going to be heading into our 4th map, this is where there is still some decent currency, and you can see there are still 2 full maxed out bounties available for Team Eskay to clutch and really give them that boost that they're going to need to go into the next map, because again, this one does not allow you to purchase an hour power. So you have to really focus on what you gain to maybe get those extra few items, as you see in the lower section here, to bolster what they've already selected.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that this is a 1st to 4, so you do have some time. If you get these 2 bounties, that could be huge for potential for comeback, and you can also see they have that 11% boost with the stadium cash, so there is a way back for this team, but man, it's been so hard to deal with this Freya in the air, and how much pressure it's putting out. It feels like we're still watching OWCS to an extent where it is the Freya really taking control.
Well, and you can see even here when it comes to Rak that there is so much amplification for this elevated mobility, also the targeting. There's just everything really being bundled into it. And the CDR, like you mentioned, is so crucial. Just constantly getting that ability uptime over and over and over again, and really putting the opponent into an awkward position. They always have to be cognizant of where Rak's positioning is going to be and whether or not they can actually capitalize and basically cage him.
Yeah, and this is where I would be wondering, it feels like this is one of those builds where it is very scaling for Jay3, but this would be when maybe you do get a little bit more gun to try and put some pressure onto Freya in the air, because right now it feels like Freya and Emongg on Jungle Queen are taking over this lobby right now. But we'll see exactly how they're going to be able to deal with this. We're in a very enclosed map here in Temple of Anubis.
J3 already on the point, again having that swift movement, getting the healing out with that biotic field, but Rakattack comes out quickly once again, and this is where, since they had such a successful round prior on that map, their currency just continued to balloon, and that's why they have these bounties and are really taking control of this.
And that's why the Freya is so valuable, because you can just end fights simply like that. You hit one great crossbow shot and it's over, especially if it's on someone like that Juno, who is a very, very important part of that Team Eskay composition. So it's a cap right now for Team Rakattack. Another bounty is propped up with 900 from that Juno, and it's looking a bit dire here for Team Eskay.
And you can see even how, and the maneuverability that Team Rak is doing, they're basically coming from 2 different positions. And now Tricky gonna move into the back on this Kiriko, attempting to get that extra damage, even though it is still from the support aspect of it. Speed Rig gets them disengaged, but aggression forward. The Jagged Blade comes out. Decent amount of pressure applied. This is still Team Rak on a position to overwhelm. You do have that ultimate come across the middle once again. And now following up, those torpedoes go flying and they hit their targets.
And still, it looks, I mean, there is a chance potentially for Team Eskay to come back into this and try and get a stall, but it looks like it's Team Rakattack who are going to take a 3-1 unless something disastrous happens. Calypso is down. The Death Blossom doesn't manage to find anything rich, and this lonely soldier just trying to sprint, but the bola shot makes sure can't get there in time. And it's 3-1 right now. Team Rakattack on match point, still with a lot of big bounties in their bag.
And what do you think, DreamHack? Is Team Rakattack already going to close us out, or is there some supporters for the other side? What about Team Eskay? Can we hear you for Team Eskay? All right, that was loud. What about Team Rakattack? Oh, okay, that was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. All right.
I would cheer for both.
I'm going to cheer for both of them too. We're biased. We have to.
Yeah, we do.
All right, and we're heading now into this next map, and again, it is going to be Team Rakattack in a position of where they can close this out, and it also allows them to have another buy opportunity for their powers.
Yeah, and then one of the things that's so interesting about this is that you can, like, when you buy this power at the fit, this is where it starts to become, like, really, the game is changing when you get these powers, and with the epic items that are coming in from all of these teams. You can see all those hero items, the ones that are just, like, you know, just the little tracer pistols, those are kind of just the generic ones, but the ones that have, like, little silhouettes of the heroes, those ones are very important to that specific build, because you can see a lot of them, specifically the Juno one, a lot of the Pulsar missiles.
Yep.
You know, you see missiles everywhere. This is a missile build, and you see 80%. That's kind of what I'm thinking of right now.
Well, the nice thing too, and you're mentioning about the items in as well to help emphasize it, I love that they've really gone with the concept art when it comes to those items being picked, because there are a lot at your disposal that you can really tell visually and at ease of what you're really amplifying, what it's specifically to, whether it's going to be ability, whether it's going to be more offensive or defensive, or even just the small minimal graphics that tell you what it enhances also.
And even if you have a build like Jay3's, which is very biotic field, healing focused, there are items that can counter and deal, you know, so whenever you deal damage, you get healing reduction. So there are those ways to counter it, but Jay3 said he was going to be scaling, and it's do or die right now for Team Eskay.
It really is. It's the moment right now. Let's get one more time. Shout from the crowd for Team Eskay as they have to fight their way back in this.
Oh, Jay3's dead.
Already engaged again. Jay3 is down. All just Emongg finding these eliminations. The carnage just being so much damage on the front line, and that combination of the shout build as well.
Yeah, and we can already see they're going to have to wait because Jay3 is so much of the team right now for Team Eskay, but as Z-Truck goes down, there's so much damage, it's not going to be there. Hasn't even capped right now for Team Rakattack yet. They just have someone back on there waiting patiently as, oh my, the missiles again coming in so clutch here for Team Rakattack.
I mean, one of the biggest benefits is that because Team Rak played so far forward, they didn't actually capture it as early, so they've been playing further ahead. So if now Team Eskay can regroup in their spawn, look to go back for a full team engagement, they might actually have the chance.
Oh, I love the little heart.
I know, right?
That's so adorable. Shout out that little thing right there is waiting patiently, seeing what Team Rakattack is going to be doing, holding firm. Team Eskay just want to have all their members before they go back and use the hyper ring, get in, see if you can pump in some damage and put some pressure down.
Already the shout out forward. Emongg playing hyper aggressive, but Rakattack hidden at the top, taking his perch. Moving forward, can't quite find an angle just yet, but down below, nice carnage and reducing that healing coming in from the ultimate. And Emongg needs to be careful though. Takedown already onto easy target. They've lost the Reaper and the Kiriko. Things are looking dire at already 60%. There is one last shot to get into this, but if the staggers are going to be too spread, this might just be it.
Oh, Eskay tries to buy back into this one, potentially with a rampage. Manages to find one. Is there a way back?
Eskay now chasing down the Juno play, elevated in the air, free fire, blade goes wide, but still gets the assist from easy target. They can push into it, and now they're actually capturing it back. That Death Blossom from that step comes in as well to secure the area. Emongg rotating back in, goes for the carnage, all alone. Shield is down, continuing to deplete that health value, is brought back, and now Rakattack mid-air, a jagged blade wide again, and it's still Team Eskay able to come back into it.
And that's two big bounties, so if there is a way for Team Eskay to manage to get this point and continue to get this game going, they're going to have so much money in their back pocket. This might be the way that they get back into this one, Rich.
Now, already 20% gain. You can see those torpedoes consistently finding Rak
They're
every
doing a
time.
great job
Peeks out onto the outside.
Rak has not been as effective in this map in particular as he was in previous ones.
And it's so necessary in that versus be huge. Now, Kiriko with that Kitsune rush up top. Rak playing in the backside, attempting to go for the supports, getting the shots necessary as Emongg collapses. A coordinated effort, able to shut down Team Eskay on this aggressive push. But a Death Blossom gets 3! Both supports are down. That might be enough to turn it back, and the healing zone comes in from Jay3. The synergy between the DPS is impeccable.
Jay3 told Easy Target beforehand, it's a risky build for the Death Blossom, but there it pays off. Another triple with that Death Blossom, and 72% up and ticking. This is last fight territory for Team Rak, and they use so much in that fight.
And look at Rak off in the corner once again, finding an angle. If this elimination comes through, it could be dire. You see the shots, nice reposition though, giving assistance on the back from that Suzu. Jay up front, topping, healing, separation, is some fight lines, though has to rotate through, goes for the elimination, gets the helix, walk it on to please, and now pushes back onto the main position. That elimination is the second now, but Emongg comes in once again for Team Rakattack with that carnage, the beast and tankiness that is up front. The overtime is dwindling. There's nobody really there to give them support.
Oh, no, Rampage,
and Jay3 comes in again, consistently assisting this team over and over, and that healing has really benefited with that high risk, high reward, like you said. This isn't over yet, and those in the crowd that said Team Eskay, give yourself a round of applause for that one.
I mean, Rich, just look at the stadium cash that we see. Team Rack are down now.
Yes, because
stadium
those
cash
bounties.
because of the bounties and the boost that we had. Incredible how much they've been able to scale. The Soldier 76, you saw, it was really funny in the kill feed that the biotic field
I know, right?
Someone, which is what that power is, and that build is just, Jay3 said it,
yep.
Scaling. Everyone's scaling on this team, and now if you're Team Rakattack, you're sweating a little bit. We cannot let this one go longer because now, I mean, just look at the difference that we see in the cash between the last round that we had and going into this one. So many bounties, so much stadium cash in the back pocket of all these players.
I mean, look at Jay3's ability power. That's that third one from the top outside of the
that
health.
all scales biotic field.
Yes, and it's all just being like massive ability power on ability power. You can see some selling and some repositioning on ideas here, but again, as we look across the board, there's so much ability power heavy driven into this composition, and it's now starting to pay off because of that scalability. Whereas we take a look at the opposing side here, Eskay, there's realistically only one of the support, and Emongg, who's focusing into that ability power because of the contribution from the Shout build that he is looking to really bring to the table.
Yeah, and you can see like kind of with these items that we're getting towards the epic ones, they all have like these different little things in them, but some of them do like specific things. Like for instance, Ravager, that little headshot icon does a lot of damage when it comes to getting critical hits. And I think it gives 20% crit damage if I'm not mistaken. So there is definitely that ability for you to continuously change your build as soon as you get stronger, right? Crits do more damage, you can deal damage to barriers, things like that. Like the world is your oyster when you're at this point and you have like 40 to 50 cash.
And the nice thing too is whether it's something extremely detailed or there are some, like we saw when it came to the selection from Emongg. It is just a flat boost, 40% ability power. Like very easy, very concise, and you know the direction you're going. So that level of depth is something so interesting to watch, as you can already see Kiriko off of the angle. This is dangerous though. If you cannot get out of there, nice reposition to fall back.
Waiting patiently as Rakattack. Oh, is caught, but look at Rack. Oh my, so much health is built, so much survivability.
With that overheal. And now gonna try and take that high ground position. Gets the shot. Nice Wraith form to get out of there, to not be eliminated again, so you can reset and potentially go back in with that death step.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the healing, though, that's being done just from the Juno and from the Soldier 76. Emongg getting taken down low, and Calypso finally is able to find one off the back end of the Pulsars, and that's already, it looks like a fight win for Team Eskay. Rakattack is getting taken down low and should be taken down by Eskay.
Well, and again, when we take a, talk a little bit about the survivability aspect of Team Eskay, it's because that Soldier is just giving so much agency. So now it's really up to Team Rak to be able to find those executions and take advantage of moments like these, maybe not directly in the build aspect, but the positional, so that it can synergize together, because now at this point, Team Eskay's on the run.
Yeah, Team Rak somehow found a way back into that one. I believe it was a Rampage from the Junker Queen able to win that one. Kitsune Rush is actually committed, and it looks like Team Rakattack wants to push the pace.
Yep, Emongg already having to use that shout to get out of there. It is far too aggressive, and the high ground is obtained by Team Eskay as they come back into this. There's the reposition, easy target with 2, gets the Death Blossom, and the follow-up from Calypso. This is just an easy, clean play entering back into it, and those torpedoes do so much on top of that Death Blossom from that step.
Yeah, and just Emongg here trying. I mean, has a lot of the ability to stay alive here with the wounds. Manages to take down Calypso, but I think this is going to just be too much damage for Emongg to deal with. Rampage actually committed.
Doesn't go all the way in the back, but still hits 2 primary targets. Target is down. And could look to get back into it. Carnage onto Jay3, who is healing for his life right now to survive through the damage and actually supersedes it. That's so massive, and that's why stacking that ability power can really change the difference here.
Oh, and a nice, really good rocket there. Is able to take down Please Res Me. Not going to get Res back up in this one. No mercy. And that's going to be, I think, Team Rakattack on the run. Is there going to be a chance for Team Eskay to take the lead here? It looks like they are. Bullet shot available.
Gets a nice aim shot out first. Doesn't quite overcommit, though. Nice protection, waiting for the Bionic Field to end. Pulls them in, gets the damage. They're low, and a follow-up by Emongg. Taking down Please once again. And now the Death Blossom. That's a full Death Blossom, not the step one. So that will get the extra extended time. A nice counter to try and reduce the healing from that Rampage. But this is still going to be Team Eskay taking advantage. But Rak is not out of this yet. He is putting everything on the line here to see what he can do. Has been built up to this moment, but doesn't have enough in the tank.
It's not enough, and it looks like it's going to be a checkpoint potentially, but the respawns are closer here for Team Rakattack if they can get back on.
There's the step. Is it going to get the Death Blossom damage? Is it enough? There's the follow-up onto it. Beautifully done to help get rid of that duplicate. Now going to move back in. Jay3 holding the corner, anchoring close. They have to keep this going. 3 seconds left before it enters into the overtime. The Rampage clips Rak, hiding behind the wall. Is there enough? The Swift Step comes in to give agency to re-attack into this. Jay3 with the Helix lands one onto the support, and now Rak is all alone, having to do some self-healing mechanics themselves, but it's not going to be enough. Again, this dominant play by Eskay has just so much survivability. Rak is struggling to get through it.
Oh, and Emongg dies 9% away from a Rampage. It's just stall tactics right now. I think here, Rich, there's no way for Team Rakattack unless a miracle happens, get back into this one. And Rich, we're going the distance here at DreamHack Dallas.
7, everyone! Let's hear it, Dallas DreamHack. We're going into that final map. This isn't going to be a fast one-sided game. It's going to go all the way.
It's all the way, and now we get those fourth powers that we were talking about, and things are about to go ballistic here on Hanaoka. We're kind of close towards where, we're at 10% or 10K difference in Stadium Catch. That's not a lot, so this could go any way, I think.
And now, as this minute and 30 seconds is so important to communicate between the team and what they want to invest in and what that last power can really be to synergize. Everything can get pulled together here from these teams. And still, you can see Jay3, I was waiting. I was like, everything can just be thrown right into that to continue snowballing that biotic field.
Yeah, that biotic field build is going to be good because now you also have that ability when you're speeding to be able to get the cooldown reduction on biotic field. So he's just going to possibly have permanent biotic field when we're seeing it with how much Jay3's been able to get it done. We're going to be seeing, I think the interesting thing is going to be looking at the other side because Rakattack built a lot of survivability, it felt like, and a lot of health. And
even some of the selling. Now going all epic at this
300,
point.
396. I mean, before Rak was at like 500 health. Now just thinking maybe I need to just go full damage to try and win this one. Maybe I don't need that survivability. If I can just get the picks first, that's really where I can benefit. So again, that's what we talked about, where it's like if you can change your build at the very end with Stadium, you're not punished for that. You can adapt and you can change how you want to be playing.
And with the full selection coming out, there's only 30 seconds left. Again, really seeing what those last few cash dollars, cash money, cash money to be spent here. And look at the overhealing from Jay3. That's wild.
And then you got AP Junker Queen on the other side.
Oh yeah, there is just constant overheal and protection coming from these two in synergy. And again, that's the scaling part. We highlighted it at the start of this, so the early aspect is going to be a challenge. But we've got 8 seconds to get into this. Let's hear it, DreamHack. Last map. I want you to be so loud that they can hear it. Come on, let's go. Last 7 now.
Here we go, starting things out on Hanaoka. My eyes are just going to be on where Jay3 is going to be running with that biotic field. And is Rakattack going to be able to survive long enough to be able to pump out the damage that we've seen in those previous matches where they were really, really strong?
Calypso in the back, keeping vision, communicating where this rotation is going to come through. Easy target has to find an angle, looking for the Death Blossom with that Death Step. Not overextending though. Big bounty as well across Team Eskay, specifically Jay3. And now you're going to see this off angle pulling back, hesitant, not going to the point just yet. They don't want to overcommit because this can snowball very quickly after the first elimination.
Oh, the TP Death Blossom is doing so much right now. Very early Rampage with the Suzu. Look how much health Jay3 has. It was almost at 1,000.
He's almost superseding the tank himself. He is the wide stance Jay3 coming out big on this and gets the pickup with the elimination from that biotic field. And now it starts to snowball even further. There is dominance on position for the point. Rak is starting to take it, but the kills are happening elsewhere. Team Eskay is going to now overwhelm and overpower with easy target, continuing to use that reposition for the extra Death Blossom.
And there's just so much pressure. I mean, it's the Death Blossoms coming in. It's Jay3 running around with a biotic field, dealing damage to you. Like, how do you beat this team? It feels like with how strong J3 is with the scaling build, almost at 80K when it comes to that Stadium cash, about to be capped here for Team Eskay and Team Rakattack in desperate straits right here.
The area of effect is intense from this team, especially when you can coordinate it, like you mentioned, with that Death Blossom to step on top of it now, pushing through this doorway. Emongg playing forward. That's a great elimination, at least to get rid of that copy of the Kiriko. Now Torpedo's active, big Rampage now to come through. Orbital Ray gonna come across the center, hoping to force back him and also get the extra damage boost. Big plays again by Team Eskay. They've already gotten the first point. Now have to move into the second one to see if they can dominate, and it's all on Rakattack now and their squad to come back into this and try and counteract.
Rack's not there, and that's the Kiriko clone that's down. J3 does manage to go down. Rack finds a huge pick. That's so much of the team of Eskay that's not gonna be there anymore.
Pushing back onto it, nice evasion, though Ravager gets one, takes out one of the DPS in the second. Finally, they get some traction. Team Rakattack is now on the prowl. They've taken this one away and denied Eskay. It's only realistically one remaining. Eskay just bobbing and weaving onto this point to buy enough time for the squad to get back into this and try and compete. But you can see everyone hyper-focusing Eskay to now make it a 1-to-1. And we go to the final point in map 7.
Final point, Bola shot here soon, potentially for Rack.
Bolo
doesn't manage to find anything.
No, it pulls him. But, easy target gets the Kiriko. Again, it's always that duplicate where you have that second one.
Oh,
so
J3.
it looks like the elimination. J3 playing forward. Rakattack now diving over the top. Gets the pull. Forces them back. Nice upfront carnage to come in from Eskay to try and overwhelm since there is one eliminated. Team Eskay down 1, 4 versus 5. But then there's a pickup coming on to Ravager.
Oh, what a
they dive back
rampage.
into it. But Team Rakattack is going to come back in tenfold with Emongg on the front.
Oh, and it looks like this is going to be it for Team Rakattack. I mean, Team Eskay don't really have anyone. It's just Eskay trying their best to be able to stay on this point with easy target.
The Wraith form.
Death Blossom potentially might be there.
We'll see if Eskay can survive. So low, needs assistance from the supports, but goes down. Is there just seconds too late? The Death Blossom comes late. Now, Team Rack with the bounties. They've taken this position. They forced them back, and that's going to be a return comeback. You saw this attempt by Eskay and J3, but unfortunately, it is going to still be Team Rack taking dominance here in this final map 7 at DreamHack Dallas 2025
It was
for the Overwatch 2 Stadium Showdown.
It was a really valiant effort to try and come back all the way, take it to a map 7 like we saw, and they even had the lead.
Yeah.
But Rakattack came in super duper clutch with that pick on the J3. If J3 doesn't go down in that fight, I think we're shouting out Team Eskay as the reason they're getting the medals.
And it's, again, going into that map 7 where you can just see how everything compounds on itself just to continue making it more formidable. And even right at the end, Rakattack's team coming out clutch and being able to just really be able to outplay and outmaneuver the abilities and just that focus of the type of build that was coming out from Team Eskay.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of saw kind of the beauty of map 7 Stadium right there at the very end, where it looked like fights could go either way. It was so very close, but just those small, tiny clutch moments can make the difference, and they made the difference there. Congratulations to Team Rack.
Absolutely, and I know we're going to be tossing it over here to, we've got the leader, the captain, the legend himself. We've got Rakattack.
Gen G Rakattack.
Yes, Gen G Rakattack. Now we're going to toss it on over to have some words with Rakattack. Jackie, take it away.
We have our Overwatch 2 Stadium Showdown champion. Rakattack, how are you feeling?
It feels good to win a stadium game. I mean, I've been playing it a lot recently, and it's great to play it on a stage.
Well, I am very proud to be able to give you this medal. There we go. And you get a plushie. And another little goodie. Show to the crowd.
All right, hey, these are looking good.
Is there anything you want to say to your team really quick?
I'm really happy for all of them. I mean, they all came out like last second. Some of them maybe haven't played it much recently, but they grinded it, and we played really good. Everyone's had a nice job.
All right, and my last question for you. Anything you want to say to this gigantic crowd, to everyone watching at home?
Honestly, if you haven't tried out Stadium, I'd say try it out. It's not exactly like Overwatch, but it's got like the groundwork to it, and it's just like a step over the line, and it's been really fun for me.
All right, let's hear it for Team Rakattack, everybody! I'm going to send it back to our casters.
It's so exciting to be able to see Rack take the dominant victory here. Again, they have medals for all of those that were participating for the winning team. And again, for those that didn't quite make it, again, for Team Eskay, honestly, it was fantastic, both sides. Map 7, we really couldn't ask for anything. We're still holding true to our voodoo magic of going all the way to the final
we always
map.
get the map 7. So
absolutely,
that's really That's what we're good at. So, it's been a great time, and I think that, like Rex said, tryouts, it's so fun. Again, if you saw this and you'd like want to get in, it's free to play for everyone. Let's go get in there.
100%. But now we're going to pass it on over to our amazing host who was here at the start of this little segment. Elliot, take it away, my friend.
Guys, that was absolutely incredible, wasn't it? Hey, make some noise for your casters, Richrad and Kenobi. I told you they were the dream team, but even I wasn't expecting them to kill it to that level. That was amazing. I think you were the winning team here on stage. Rakattack, Team Rakattack, that was absolutely incredible. All of our content creators and all of our players out on the stage. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us. Make some noise for the crowd here at DreamHack Dallas. The first time we've seen this game mode up on the stage, the Overwatch 2 Stadium Showdown. Do you have a good time? Well, thank you so much. That's it for Overwatch 2 Stadium on the stage here. But we'll be right back after this with some more content on the main stage. Don't go anywhere.